Rumbling, rumbling, rumbling.
No. Can't see anything there. Let's just get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the good, the bad, and the ridiculous as India make it 1-1 with India after victory in the second test. What a day. Early finish for us. We love early finishes on this show, don't we, Bharat?
Oh, this is how it should be every time, right? If you were in the press box, think about it, right? It would have been just after lunchtime. The lunch would still be there. They would keep it till, an hour after the game finishes? Perfect.
Yeah.
And for us here in Australia, I can finish this and go have dinner, watch something that is not cricket.
Yeah, finally. I'm sure Isha's very happy. She's a long suffering woman who probably deserves a bit of sainthood recognition. Now, let's get on with the nominations. Plenty, as you can imagine. Now, one from Sunny. Ridiculous. Ashwin got robbed of a 10 for. Looking at the team spirit, he won't mind a bit. I don't think he will mind a bit. It was just a dream everything for him, wasn't it? I think my favourite bit, we're watching the post-match presentation, and even though I couldn't understand the entire Tamil bit, Ashwin gets massive points for me for the fact that I heard him say knowledgeable Chennai crowd. Don't think he added the hashtag, but for me, that was possibly the finest moment for Ashwin of this entire match in referencing the knowledgeable Chennai crowd. Absolute dream test match for him in front of his home crowd. He did everything right. And I guess you don't have that happen very often. Well, it hasn't happened very often, has it? Someone doing it in front of their home crowd like that.
And he had to do it, especially after Virat Kohli called them an intelligent crowd. Did you notice that? Like Virat Kohli stopped for a second, thought about knowledgeable, but went with intelligent. So Ashwin had to make up for it. You have to call them the knowledgeable crowd. And I don't think Ashwin would have complained, because if Ashwin would have taken those 2 wickets, Kuldeep wouldn't have got his wickets. So I think in a way it was good that Kuldeep Yadav was the one who finished the game off. Though, of course, if Ashwin had got those 2 wickets, it would have meant he would have become only the third all-rounder or the fourth all-rounder after Shakib, Imran Khan and Ian Botham. 3 big names to have scored 100 and taken 10 wickets in the same match. But look, I've watched Ashwin for a long time now, so I have you, Mel, and so have lots of our viewers. But this is the happiest I've seen him on the cricket field and in a presentation ceremony. You could see he was getting emotional about it. Great moment, and they finally found his wife on camera today. So even better.
Yay! That was another big moment. I noticed at the end what I really loved when you talk about him being joyful. When he was talking about his bowling and about, it was still in the post-match presentation when it's all just about the feels. He's talking about his wrist position and when he cocks it at a certain angle. So he still likes to be technical. There's a real nerd in there somewhere in Ashwin. We know that. But the fact that he was saying, look, if I try these things, if I can't try them now, when am I ever going to try them? And it takes a lot of courage to try that stuff out in the middle, and I think that's why he keeps getting better and better. Has Kuldeep then robbed him of being the sobers of Chennai?
I think he might have. He did go past Gary Sobers during this test when it comes to most number of times for an all-rounder to have taken 5 wickets and scored 100. So he was locked with Gary Sobers. So despite Kuldeep Yadav's efforts, I still think R. Ashwin is the new Sir Gary Sobers of Chennai.
You heard it here first. Well, you probably didn't. Probably other people have said it as well. Now, Abhijato Sensama nominates as good. Pant's best keeping performance ever. Bad. People criticising him for it nonetheless. I just want to take this moment, Bharat, to really throw it to you to wax lyrical about Rishab Pant's keeping, because I know you're a massive fan of his keeping, especially to spin.
Well, he proved me wrong yet again, didn't he? So I was not his biggest fan before the Australia tour. Then, of course, Sydney happened, and just the effort he put into his fitness and his batting over in Sydney and his keeping. Isha asked me the other day, now the new cricket fan in my household, about about Rishabh Pant as a keeper, and I said, from what I watched him in the last 2 months, he can only get better because he just keeps working so hard.
I thought you were going to say he can only get better because he's so bad.
Oh no, that would be really harsh. I've always thought of him as a big talent. It's just that he needed this opportunity. I was speaking to Suresh Raina a few weeks ago, Mel, and he spoke about how Rishabh Pant. I think I've spoken about this before on our show. He went and spent a few days at Suresh Raina's house, where all he wanted to do was he wanted someone to listen to him. That's all. He had a lot to say. He wanted to be like the best wicketkeeper batsman in the world. And he's taken massive strides in the last 2 months as a batsman, but he definitely took many more strides as a wicketkeeper, especially in this test match. Not just his stumpings, just the way he was collecting the ball. That bouncer that Ashwin bowled to Ben Stokes, and Joe Root was asking for a one for the over signal from the umpire. It was a great take. And like Virat Kohli said, he has shed some weight. He's quicker on his feet. And he's always been vocal behind the stumps. But he pulled off 2 or 3 amazing stumpings during this test match. And Rishabh Pant is now the best wicketkeeper in India. Maybe he is.
Following on the theme of this tour, certainly this test match is about making wicket-keeping sexy again, following on from Stokes there. Now, Anantha Padmanabhan, I hope I've said that right, nominates as good the best match for stumpings tutorials. And that brings in that whole thing of, yes, it was wicket-keeping being sexy again. We've seen, I was trying to think of a game when we've seen so many fantastic stumpings. And I can't remember the last time I saw a test that was this good for stumpings. That was a massive feature of this game.
You'll have to go back to the times of Bert Oldfield, who still holds the records for most stumpings in Test cricket. See, there's the cricket nerd in me as well, who makes it appear.
I'm trying to imagine. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm trying to imagine you and Ashwin and sitting around with the two of you, and it would be a nerd's paradise.
Oh my God! Yeah, I know. I don't know what the audience will have to say about that. Maybe it might happen someday. But for now, Bert Oldfield. Okay, no, not Bert Oldfield, but Rishab Pant and Ben Foakes. Yes, Rishab Pant has kept a lot on Indian wickets. Ben Foakes, for me, still is the best wicketkeeper in the world, because to come from England, where you don't get to keep on wickets like this. Yes, he's made Lions twos before. He's played test matches in Sri Lanka. I thought it was a masterclass. And Ben Foakes is a sexy man as it is. I have to admit, just, with that stubble and just the way he looks, I think he is. Someone said he looks like a cross between Brad Pitt and someone else. I can't recall on Twitter. And and Rishabh Pant has its own charm in his own way. So together, they have made wicket-keeping very, very sexy all over again.
I think it was Guy Pearce, a famous Australian actor, just so you know. Now, Shrey Joshi nominates Kuldeep going from the 3rd spinner to being the 6th spinner without bowling at all, especially after a 5-wicket haul in his last test. Honestly, I mean, that we've got one coming up about the drop catch, but I know we talked about Stuart Broad and the lack of involvement at certain points, but I was so afraid that he was going to go through this entire test without taking a wicket. At times, I thought he was barely going to bowl. So it was such a relief to see him get a couple of wickets. I just really, really felt for the guy. He spent so much time in the nets, so much time carrying drinks, so much time looking at team sheets that don't have his name on it. So it was just a really nice thing to see him actually get some wickets in the end.
He's such a popular member of the Indian team as well. He never loses his smile despite not having played in a long, long time. He's always speaking to the opposition players as well. I saw even in Australia, whether it was Mitchell Starc or whether it was Josh Hazelwood, whenever he would bring a drink out for some of the Indian players, as he would run back, he would stop and have a chat. So he's never lost that spirit. And you could see the celebration in the Indian team or the Indian camp when he took that wicket. Rohit Sharma lifted him up and everyone was so happy for him because they know the effort he's put into his bowling. And he bowled much, he looks better as a bowler now. The body he's putting into his action, we heard the coaching staff talk about it in Australia. The way he's going through his action, the speeds that he is bowling with. 6 overs in the first innings, you could see he was just settling in. That's so good to see him take 2 wickets and to finish the game like that. Going back to our first question, Ashwin, I don't think would have minded it purely because Kuldeep Yadav is a popular member of the side and he deserved to have a smile. His sort of get his smile back on the field. And you had Murali Karthik on commentary talk about the pressures of being a third spinner. He knows all about it. He used to be the third spinner behind Kumble and Harbhajan, where you given the ball for 2 overs. If you don't take a wicket, they come back on. So it's good that we saw Kuldeep Yadav bowl and also to take 2 wickets, because I did have a feeling the way Axar Patel was going through them. Maybe imagine that, Kuldeep Yadav not taking a single wicket on this pitch. So thankfully that didn't happen.
Well, the reason it didn't is down to the next nomination from Cricket Critique, who nominates as bad the catch dropped by Siraj off Kuldeep. It was possibly, well, no, there are a few fairly simple catches, but there probably aren't many that come to you quite that simply. And it was Joe Root as well. So it was just, that was the moment that my heart really, really fell. And I just thought I wanted the whole world to come together and mentally send Kuldeep a hug, which is all we can do now in these times of social distancing.
Yeah, and Siraj, yesterday we were just raving about how much he was celebrating Ashwin's 100 as if it was his own, and the effort he put in to just hang in there for Ashwin's sake. So yeah, he kind of let down Kuldeep Yadav there, didn't he? And especially it would have been Joe Root's wicket. So to get the captain out, the big wicket, would have counted for a little more. But eventually, at least he did get his 2 wickets. But I still think Rohit Sharma's drop in the first test was slightly more ridiculous than this one. Maybe, I don't know, it was his position when you're at backward point or at short third man, and the ball can kind of spin a little in the air. I'm just making excuses for Siraj.
I was just going to say, to be fair, it's probably the first thing he has done since he came into the test side that hasn't been perfect and lovable, let's face it.
That is true.
Yeah. Now, Varun Dio nominates as ridiculous. The camera panning to the stone-faced Silverwood every time a wicket falls. Surely he's done what he can, and now it's up to the players. If it wasn't on Silverwood, it was definitely on Jonathan Trott. I wasn't sure who was getting the most airtime there, obviously, as they were focusing on the batting. A lot of criticism seemed to be coming in for just the difficulty of playing sweep shots, because a lot of them were getting out to sweep shots, and just how difficult that may have been on this pitch in particular, and if it was the right tactic. But there weren't many smiles there. Joe Root might have still been smiling, but there weren't any smiles from Silverwood and Trotty. And the next test is going to be completely different anyway. We know that. We don't really know. We don't know what the next test is going to be like, but certainly maybe the 4th test, it will be very interesting to see if there's any change in tactics, depending on what kind of pitch is served up.
Yeah, I wonder where Jimmy Anderson and Jofra Archer were. I mean, I saw Jimmy Anderson run drinks out, I think on day 1 or day 2, but I haven't seen them. So do they get the time off? Are they chilling in the hotel? I wonder where they are. Maybe training with the pink ball somewhere. And I don't think India knew who Chris Silverwood was, honestly. The cricket nerds they would remember him as a fast bowler who had lovely hair, is what I remember, and a very nice bowling action. And played the Ashes 2002, played a bit of Test cricket in the late 90s, but he's got more airtime in the last 2 weeks than I think he ever has in his life. I think it's fair to say. And the Chennai dressing room also helps because it's so open and it's like a lovely location, so the camera can pan on to you all the time. And yeah, I mean, whether Chris Silverwood, the coach, is remembered in India or not, I'm sure, with his expressions, he could definitely be a character actor in a Bollywood movie someday.
A few people are asking me when I'm going to come to Bollywood. I'm all for it, by the way. I think I'd like to play a villain.
Chris Silverwood and Mel Farrell in a movie. Let's get that trending. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a frightening thought. Okay, Abhishek nominates as ridiculous. Number of names used for debutant Axar Patel. I wasn't sure if Rishab Pant had probably about 7 or 8 different names for him. I was struggling at the start of this because I actually did meet him a number of years ago when I was filming a piece in Indoor, and I always thought it was Axar with the KSH, and then it's Axar with the X. And I was even asking you, I try to be very conscious of pronouncing things the right way, and I guess the spelling comes into that as well. And so I could find it confusing. Please, can Rishab Pant not give him any more names? There's two is too many.
And I did try explaining to you the difference between KSH and X, and I don't think the show is long enough for us to get into it. But yeah, I mean, he's calling him Wasim because I think he thought he was swinging the ball like Wasim Akram. He was calling him Axe. He was calling him Bapu, which people from some parts of Gujarat are referred to as Bapu. He was calling him Pape at some point. He was calling him all sorts of names, and also that accented Axar Patel, and he was calling him Axar Patels at some point. I don't know what that reference was to. Yeah, there was just so many names that I, as a bowler, I don't know whether Axar Patel knew whether he was talking to him at times. I'm sure at times he was confused who Rishabh Pant was speaking to, but there you go.
Yeah.
I still think it's Axar Patel. So, as the Gujaratis, I'm sure on our channel would correct me, it's Axar. So, it actually should be Aksar. But like I said, let's not get into it, Mel.
Whatever you want to call him, he's had a terrific debut test that I'm sure we can all agree on, no matter how the spelling is or what you call him. Now, Professor Samuel Oak nominates Mooen Ali, tripled his IPL contract 2 days before auction by hitting 3 consecutive sixes. Ridiculous, which it was, that whole innings. The most disappointing thing about Mooeen Ali's innings, I mean, you come in that situation, what else is he going to do? Really, the pressure's off. No one expects you to do anything except maybe survive for a little while. So he may as well bat with freedom and just go for it. He wasn't notably going for all the sweep shots either. It was just hitting straight over the top. But just, I feel like he let me down, Bharat. He let me down because if he'd managed to get the fastest 50 in Test cricket, that would have been the most ridiculous thing of the series so far, and possibly the most ridiculous thing of the series altogether. So I'm a little bit disappointed with mine, to be honest.
Yeah, I think just that hug between Virat Kohli and Mooeen Ali after the game finished just told me that, I don't think RCB is going to go back to Mooeen Ali. Just, they looked like two guys who, maybe looked at each other as colleagues, as teammates, but not anymore. There was that sideways hug, and neither of them looked at each other because there were a lot of people tweeting about, is Mooeen Ali like giving Virat Kohli a reminder of what he is capable of for the reason why he was picked last year for RCB or 2 years ago. But yeah, I don't think that's happening, but perfect time to show off your six hitting 24 hours before the IPL auction. Steve Smith did that yesterday in the Marsh One Day Cup. Steve Smith is going back into the auction for the first time since 2016. So always a good time to send a little reminder. And Mooeen Ali is in India doing it. So yeah, I think good call from Moeen. And how cleanly was he striking those sixes? Those were some of the best shots played during the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Now, the Pie Chuckers Cricket Podcast, our good friends, have nominated as ridiculous. India could have an option of playing Axar at 9 when Jadoo at 7 gets fit, along with Ashwin at 8. That's a lot of spin bowling and a lot of batting together. We've talked so much, or we did in Australia talk so much about the sudden, or not sudden, but certainly now the depth of fast bowling in Indian cricket. But the depth of spin bowling all-rounders suddenly seems incredibly impressive when you look at that. And to think that Axar could quite possibly be batting at number 9 if the conditions are right and they bring Jadeja back in.
And not to forget poor Washington Sundar, who made 85 not out in the last test and won a test match for India at the Gabba with his bat and with the ball. So yeah, I mean, India could be the like the South African one-day team from the late 90s and the early 2000s, where everybody could bat and everybody could bowl, or the English ODI team from the World Cup. So have spinning all-rounders from 6 down to 9, have Rishab Pant bat at number 5. Why not? And then like have 6 bowling options. So lots of options opening up for India when it comes to how they want to frame this test team. Like you said, the fast bowling stocks in Australia were there to see. I mean, even T. Natarajan getting a debut. I don't think a lot of people would still agree that the spin stocks have that level of depth. But, you play, you've seen 2 spinners play now. Washington Sundar, who got some big wickets at the Gabba, bowled okay in the last test. You've seen Axar Patel now take 5 wickets on debut. So I don't know why there is not enough talk about the depth of spin stocks. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could have, like, if Jadeja comes back, because Jadeja is still the number 1 spinning all-rounder, I think ahead of even Ashwin at the moment. So I don't see how they're going to fit all of them in. But yeah, I'm sure the selectors aren't complaining.
Oh, yeah, I'm certainly sure they're not complaining. And Andrew Evans nominates as good Indian groundsman, bad Indian groundsman, ridiculous Indian groundsman. We don't want to talk too much about the pitch, but I had to just put that one in there. In the end, we've ended up with a pitch that did what it did, and India played a lot better on it in the circumstances. And who knows what we're going to have next.
New ground, new pitch, pink ball. It's pretty newish still in Indian cricket. So yeah, you never know. And yeah, I have to kind of agree with Andrew there. It was eventually, it gave us exciting cricket. So that's the good part of it. There was a lot of talk about it, negative talk about it. That's the bad part about it. And we saw Mooen Ali, R. Ashwin, and Rohit Sharma make that pitch look pretty ridiculous when they actually attacked. So yeah, I have to give that to Andrew.
Well, you give that to Andrew, but now it comes down to, drum roll, what is your goodest thing for the day?
Has to be R. Ashwin. And for me, the moment that will stay with me from this game is when Murali Karthik asked him a question, or basically asked him to pay ode to the Chennai crowd in Tamil. And he just started speaking, and then the crowd started roaring, and he had to stop his speech. That happens very rarely to someone in their lives, and it's a great moment in your home ground for that to happen. Yeah, has to be the best moment of Ashwin at the Chepauk ground ever.
Yeah. And so what was your baddest thing for the day?
I think I have to go with Siraj dropping that sitter, especially at that point when Kuldeep Yadav, you could see the look on his face. So he looked a little lost, especially when your team is dominated the way India had. To get a ball and have Joe Root play a reverse sweep, simple catch. Yeah, come on, Siraj. You've been a wonderful team, man, ever since you came into the team. But yeah, you let poor Kuldeep Yadav down.
He did. That's a good call. And finally, the most ridiculousest thing of the day was?
Has to be the finish. Mooen Ali, I don't know who he was making a mockery of. Was he making a mockery of the pitch? Was he making a mockery of his own teammates? Was he making a mockery of all the English experts who've been dissing this pitch? Or was he making a mockery of the Indian spinners? I couldn't make out. For a second, I thought Mooen Ali, being Mooen Ali, was just trying to hit Axar Patel out of the attack so that Ashwin could come back and take that final wicket. It has been Ashwin's match. And also the fact that we've forgotten Rohit Sharma and his incredible 100 in the first innings. But I think just Mooen Ali finishing with a cameo on that pitch, which people said nobody could bat on, for me just summed up the last 4 days of Test match cricket.
Well, it has been an incredibly fun 4 days of cricket. I hope you've enjoyed it, especially with us going live. It's been I was a bit worried, but we're still here. We haven't gone off the air. Please do give us a like and consider subscribing, because we are going to be back for the next 2 tests. You can't get rid of us. And keep checking back on the channel, because hopefully I will have some more videos coming up here before the next test begins. So we'll see you in Ahmedabad. Well, we won't be there. We'll be here, but you know what I mean. See you then. Bye.